Hi, you guys. I told Danny about our little picnic tomorrow. So it should be a little cool, but the weather should be nice. Oh, get a candle.
That's two. Hopefully I can make it by one.
All right, it's me, Jindo. Hi. It's so nice to be gathered here with family and friends. Danny has fought off the spring allergies and is here today. It is so good to see you. Chris, thank you for making it. Chris and I are actually in touch all week about local scuba stuff. We're losing one shopping center, but we're getting a supermarket and all the important issues that if you're really interested in, you can find me on a part of the Facebook just about scuba news, right? Right? Scuba news. We're having a picnic tomorrow, by the way, here in Scuba. You're all invited, but you got to get here. So that's the catch. Oh, my screen popped off for a second, but it usually pops right back. Very good. Well, today's theme is when times get rough in many ways, not just for, you know, anybody, but that includes for Zen priests too. And we're supposed to be the ones who are full of wisdom and speaking about, seeing beyond it all. But hey, we're just human too. So that's what our theme is going to be. Koshi? Wait a second. Talk about trimming your beard. Wow. I hope you donated it to charity or something, man. That was okay. Well, he's gonna start working on it again. Give it a couple of years, and it'll be just back where it was. You remember Koshi with the All right. Well, we're going to dedicate today to the remainders of Koshi's beard, amongst other things. If you've been here before, you know what to do, and if it's your first time, just follow along. Hi, Nenge. Good to see you.
The heart of the perfection of great wisdom. Sutra. Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, awakened one of compassion in Prajna Paramita, the deep practice of perfect wisdom. Perceive the emptiness of all five conditions and was free of suffering. O Shariputra, form is no other than emptiness, emptiness no other than form, form is precisely emptiness, emptiness precisely form, sensations, perceptions, formations, and consciousness are also like this, O Shariputra. All things are expressions of emptiness, not born, not destroyed, not stained, not poor, neither waxing nor waning. Thus emptiness is not form, not sensation nor perception, not formation nor consciousness, no eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind, no sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, nor object of mind, no realm of sight, no realm of consciousness, no ignorance, no end to ignorance, no old age and death, no cessation of old age and death, no suffering, nor cause or end to suffering, no path, no wisdom, and no gain, no gain. Thus bodhisattvas live this prajna paramita with no hindrance of mind, no hindrance, therefore no fear, far beyond all delusion. Nirvana is already here. All past, present, and future Buddhas live this prajna paramita and realize supreme and complete enlightenment. Therefore know that prajna paramita is the sacred mantra, the luminous mantra, the supreme mantra, the incomparable mantra by which all suffering is clear. This is no other than truth. Therefore set forth the prajna paramita mantra. Set forth this mantra and proclaim Gate, Gate, Para Gate, Para Samgate, Bodhisowaka. Anya Shinyo. Buddha nature pervades the whole universe, reality existing right here now. In reciting the heart of the perfection of great wisdom sutra, we dedicate our sincere efforts to Shakyamuni Buddha, honored one, the historical Buddha and teacher, and to those ancestral teachers, Heihei Dogen, honored one, Soji Keizan, honored one, all successive honored ones up until Zuigaku Renpo, honored one, and Gudo Wafu, honored one, and to all other honored ones throughout history, same yet diverse honored ones, whose names have been forgotten or left unsaid. We also dedicate these efforts to the three treasures, Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, to all awakened ones and teachers in all places and times. We especially seek tranquility and well-being for all creatures now suffering or ill in health. May they be serene through all their ills. May their lives be at peace and wisdom pervade the darkness of ignorance. We dedicate our hopes and aspirations to all victims of war and violence and natural events, to the injured and to all families touched by these tragedies, to the healing of hatred in all countries and among all peoples, to the wisdom and compassion of our world leaders, to the peace of the world and harmony of all beings. Thus let the harmful effects of words, thoughts, and actions be dispelled, and compassion bloom in perpetual spring. May we all realize and live the enlightened way together. All Buddhas throughout space and time. Om Bodhisattvas, Mahasattvas, Maha Prajna Paramita.
So is that Get a hint? You can walk outside if you want, or stay here, or have some tea. Makes me say, oh. Zazen? Can everyone hear okay? Okay. So most of us come to Zen practice because we're looking for some answers, maybe some peace, maybe to deal with some aspects of our personality we would like to do without. Maybe we're sometimes too afraid, too sad, depressed, too angry. Someone's had addiction issues. Many things bring us here. And after years of this practice, sometimes perhaps we find those devils still show themselves, and we have moments when the fear or the sadness, even unfortunately sometimes the addiction, might return for a time. And we might wonder, I thought that was all supposed to disappear from my Zen practice. Well, some of it disappears, but we remain human. And I think it's important to remember that. I sometimes talk about how the old Buddha stories literally took the Buddha and coated him in gold, floating in the sky with an aura emanating, and somehow the humanity was lost. Some kind of God appeared. But every once in a while in the old stories, you'll see the human side of Buddha. For example, there was a war, and his family suffered. And in that story, even he is said to have had to sit down. His head was throbbing. Well, he was the Buddha, and if he had those moments, so can all of us. Sometimes the old Buddhist stories, the koans, for example, tend to turn our ancestors almost into cartoon characters. But one of the things I like about Dogen's writing is every once in a while, through the words, if you look between the lines, you see that maybe he was dealing with something there in the monastery. Some problem, somebody was doing something and he had to deal with it, and he was just having a bad day. You could tell sometimes that he was a little angry about something. Are Buddhists allowed to get angry? I talk a good game here sometimes about letting life be, letting life go. But it's hard to do sometimes. We're only human, you know. That's true for priests as well. You think that someone gets their robes and they're supposed to be beyond all suffering, but I tell you it's not true. We're human beings, and sometimes the reason that we became priests, that we stuck with Zen practice so long, is because it makes the rough edges smoother. It makes life simpler and easier, but the rough edges, the difficulties, the problems, the bad moments are still there because we're human. I'll tell you a couple of stories. For example, let's take the example of examples right now, Washin. He's a priest, a teacher of Tai Chi, a man of peace, a man who would rather plant flowers and bring beauty to the world than to deal with anything ugly, but yet he's faced with a situation where terrible tragedy is happening in his country. I hear him speak. I know the man for many years, and he's doing amazing things. He seems to continue to speak words of peace. He seems to be dealing with it with a great deal of wisdom and compassion. But I'll tell you this, if he didn't feel sad sometimes, if he didn't feel afraid for his own life and those he loved sometimes, if he wasn't angry sometimes, he wouldn't be a human being. Now, I don't know he feels those things. Well, I kind of do. Sometimes we speak, but I want to kind of give him permission to feel those things sometimes. Can you imagine? Literally, armies are marching on your very home. What do you do? People you love, people you know, are being killed, slaughtered. What do you do? It's okay to be angry sometimes. It's okay to be sad. But what about the rest of us? We're not facing things like that, but boy, things can happen in our lives too. I'll tell you about another one of our priests. He said I could. I pre-cleared the story just to make sure, but dear Shinchi has been having a bad week. Boy, oh boy. Some things are going on with him. Number one, he's not in a war zone, but he's facing life's war. His beloved horse was put down this week. Now, that may seem like just one of those things, but you had to know that Shinshi's a professional cowboy. I've seen him ride. He does something called cutting. It's a kind of cattle herding, kind of like a rodeo event, though he has explained to me many times it's not the rodeo, but it's, to a layman like me, it's a kind of rodeo thing. And I've seen him move with that horse. They move as one. There was one body when I saw him ride. You know, he has a kind of a bad back himself, so he doesn't ride as often as he used to. But when I went to a visit there, he got on the saddle. He hadn't ridden that horse for a while. And I'm having one of my name moments. I'm trying to remember the horse's name, which I knew 30 seconds ago. That's one of the things I deal with. I have a little issue with that. But when Shinchi was riding, he said that sometimes he'd just think it and the horse would turn right or left or go down or lean back or charge for the cow. And maybe it was just the most subtle of movements in his legs, but Shinchi and the horse were one. So to lose this horse was like losing a leg, like losing your hand, losing part of your heart. And Shinshi's also, he can't maintain the house anymore. They've got a piece of land and a house, and it's a bit much for them. So now they have to look for someplace smaller. And where do you put the remaining horses? They still got a couple of horses. It's hard to lose your house, to lose your loved one like that. And he's dealing with it. And I can tell it sometimes weighs on him, and it's okay because he's human. And we're ordaining some priests in a few weeks here. Onshi, Koshi, Onkai, it's okay to be human. It's all right. In my own case, I thought, what can I tell you today? You've heard my cancer story when I was in bed and I was all afraid a few years ago. I thought I had to think of something to bring it up to date. So I'll tell you this, my marriage has rocky moments sometimes. I don't talk about it a lot, but I'm a married man for coming up to 30 years. And I'd like to tell you that I don't want to go into details because it's really the silliest of silly things. And if I tried to explain it, you'd think it sounded like nothing. But my wife, who is 80% the dearest, sweetest person I have ever met in my life, and really the hero in my life, has 20% something that's like, many people have it, like a compulsive disorder. It's in the, I don't want to go into details because it's kind of silly, but it's like one of those things like anorexia or, where the people have to wash their hands every minute or can't go outside or that kind of thing. It's even like alcoholism but she doesn't have an addiction. It's just that sometimes this interferes with life so much. And I have literally been on my knees begging sometimes, please just you don't need to do this right now. And I've cried and I've gotten angry. And it's at those moments that if you saw me so frustrated, so angry with this silly thing, that's not her fault, but yeah, you can't reason with folks who have things like, if you've ever had someone with an addiction, she doesn't have an addiction, but if you've ever had someone with an addiction in your family and you try to talk to them, please don't do that. Why do you do it? Just don't do it. Could be a gambling addiction, it could be a alcohol or drug addiction. Please stop. And they can't, they promise, and their actions just seem so unreasonable to the people around. It's just so frustrating. I get angry sometimes. And at those moments, if you saw me, you might say, hey, Jundo, you talk a good game. You tell us every week, just let life go. Don't worry about the future. Let it be. Accept things as they are. Flow with it. And here you are, angry like the rest of us. What's going on? Why are you crying? Why are you pounding the wall with your hand like, what? God damn it! Like that. Why? Don't you just talk a good game? Because I'm human. And we have other priests. Some of them are working too hard. They have no choice. It's called surviving in the 21st century. They're working 40, 50 hours a week. In one case, the person's doing it more because it's just their sense of duty as a professional. They have to do it. They don't want to just cut back because the people they deal with, their patients would be hurt. This kind of thing. And it affects them. I can tell. They're overdoing it. We all deal with something. So you heard my confession and you heard about all these priests who just seem to be as mixed up and upset sometimes or depressed and sad as the rest of us, as everybody. So what's the sense of this practice? Why are we even sitting here? We're sitting here because I can tell you it's made all the difference in the world. I can't promise you this practice won't make you somehow beyond human. I can't practice a practice that takes away all the rough edges. But I can't promise you it does make those rough edges rounder. It just does make it that when you are acting in your more human side, you know it's not how life has to be. It's just something passing. Even at the saddest moments, I realize life isn't sad. Just I'm feeling sad right now. Life isn't gray. It's just the weather is gray right now. The sun is still there. Right now I'm feeling frustrated. But that's just what's happening. It's okay. And because of that, I'll tell you, even though it hasn't cured me, it's made me certainly a better human being, because I can feel it more, be aware of it more, and let it go faster. That's for sure. That's for sure. You see, there's a difference between being human in life and being captured for a bit by an emotion and being a prisoner of that emotion. This practice lets us do that. I realize at the moment of sadness or frustration, it's just what's happening now. It's a lot of it's my own doing in my own head. It doesn't have to be. And finally, what I did learn in that hospital bed a few years ago when I was so sick and I was afraid of life, afraid that I wouldn't see my kids, I realized there is something more. There is this aspect of the practice that is beyond all frustration, beyond anything to be angry about. I promise you, beyond life and death and even war and peace, beyond a kind of wholeness that's beyond even the war that Washington is experiencing. I promise you it's there. As much as I can promise you on the rainiest night that the moon is still shining up there. On the stormiest day, the sun is still there, even though we cannot see it. At nighttime, we cannot see it in the darkness, but the sun is still there. I promise you. And that we get to know through this practice. And sometimes we realize this all at once. I can only explain that when I started Zazen this morning, when we rang the first bell, it was cold and rain, kind of damp and cloudy outside. And now suddenly here in Scuba, the sun has come out. And there's a little warmth in the air. Because the sun was there the whole time. And this is just like our minds, you see. So we will have cloudy moments. It will rain. It rained here all day yesterday. It was cold. And now the sun is here. It was always there, but now it's here. So when you're in the clouds, when it's raining, please don't forget that. Trust me. I have my cloudy and rainy days too. And sometimes, wisest of it all, you can see the sun in the clouds. You know those moments when somehow it's raining and it's still sunshine? Something like that. I never understood that. You know, when it's raining and you look up and there's not a cloud in the sky, but yet the rain is falling? There's the clouds, but somehow the sun is making them so beautiful that they're turning orange and gold. That's our practice too. So please, I spoke a little long today. I've also had kind of a rough week with a few things. But please remember that the next time it rains a little in your life, okay? It's okay to be human. Whether you're a priest or you've been practicing Buddhism for 100 years, whether you were the Buddha himself. Let's sit. Danny, always just like clockwork. We will recite the verse of atonement and the 4 vows. Oh, it's beautiful outside. After a couple of rainy days, look at that. Actually, there's flowers in the garden.
All harmful acts, words, and thoughts ever committed by me since of old, on account of beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and mind, now I atone for them all. To save all sentient beings, though beings numberless, to transform all delusions, though delusions inexhaustible, to perceive reality, though reality is boundless, to attain the enlightened way, a way none attainable, to save all sentient beings, though beings numberless, to transform all delusions, though delusions inexhaustible, to perceive reality, though reality is boundless, to attain the enlightened way, a way none attainable, to save all sentient beings, though beings numberless, to transform all delusions, though delusions inexhaustible, to perceive reality, though reality is boundless, to attain the enlightened way, a way non-attainable.
Okay, on a 1, 2, 3. Lovely, lovely. Danny, I kept looking over at you with every chair. I said, why doesn't she put her arms up? And I realized you had your sweater on. I thought you were standing like this. Okay, well, thank you guys. We're going to stick around for some tea if you can. Good to see you, Slav, also known as Steve and Stan. You're 3 for the price of 1. Good to see you. If you can stay around for tea, otherwise, wish you all peace. See you later. Hey, Candy. Hope the art's going good. Okay. You have to go? Can you say? Yeah, you should go? Okay. I'll send you the information tomorrow if you can make it. Just informal. You know. Yeah. Okay. You're going to make it tomorrow?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Should be later, 1 o'clock maybe.
Yeah. Okay, guys.